Maseches Bava Kame. Daf ein base Amud base. Okay? And base Amud base, we read the Mishnah about Eidim zomemim, and we're going now to see the Gemara about one of the famous machlokes between Abayey and Rava regarding zomemim. Itmar. Whenever we have Itmar, Mechavrusa told me, Itmar is a machlokes between Amoraim. Zomemim. Zomemim, we know, is an aid whose eidus was disqualified because he said that he saw this and that happening on this and that date. He saw a murder taking place, a loan taking place, whatever was taking place. And then other people come and say, Imanu Ha'isem, you were with us in a different place. You guys are liars. And therefore, you have to do to that zomemim what he wanted to do, what he was planning to do to the other people. Zomemim, Abayey says, Lemafrea unifsal. Abayey says, Lemafrea means he is already disqualified retrospectively. I'll read Rashi inside. Rashi. Eid b'Nisan. Nisan, he gave an eidus. V'uzam al eidus zu be'iyar. A month later, in Iyar, it's the first Rashi in the Gemara. The first Rashi in the bottom of the page after the word Gemara. V'uzam al eidus zu be'iyar. In Iyar, it was found out that he lied regarding Nisan. You told the Beis Din that in Nisan you saw this and that happening. You liar! You were with us in a Pesach retreat up north. All the eidus that he gave, all documents and eidus, all kinds of testimonies he gave between Nisan and Iyar are also possible. They're all disqualified. Since he gave the eidus, it became possible. Which means, once we realize backwards, we know that from Nisan he gave a false eidus, so he's not trustworthy anymore. So eidus before Nisan is still trusted, because then we don't know that if he lied or not. We assumed he was good. From Nisan we know he went bad, was miskalkel, became sour. So we say that from Nisan onwards, he's already everything that all eidus that he gave are possible. However, Rava Omar, back to the Gemara. Rava Omar mikanu labo nifsal. Rava says mikanu labo nifsal. He's nifsal from now onwards, from Iyar onwards, from the time that the Eidim came, the Eidim who disqualified him, called Eidim mezimim, those who caused him to be mazid, from that time onwards is possible. That's Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, V'chulei, Av, Elul. From now on is dead meat. But retrospectively, from the time of the eidus is not nifsal. All the eidus from the time he spoke until the time he was disqualified, during that period, those eidus are kosher, says Rava. And the Gemara is going to explain why. Abayey Omar, now you may say that Abayey makes more sense to you, right? But it's not so simple. Abayey Omar lemafrea nifsal. Abayey explains his reason. He says, you know why it's lemafrea? You know why the psul is retroactive? From the time that he testified, and now a month later, we know that he is a roshe, he is a wicked person, he's a liar. The Torah said, Al toshes roshe ed. Don't place an aid to be a roshe. A roshe cannot be an aid. It's that simple, right? If we know that from Nisan he lied, we don't know that he did shuva. So this entire month, from the time that he actually did the wrong thing until he was found out to say the wrong thing, and obviously onwards, it's possible. Rava Omar, I prefer saying Rava than you, okay? Rava Omar, Rava says no, mikano labo nifsal. Rava is more forgiving, and Rava says no, only from here onwards, from the time that we found out the truth, onwards is nifsal, but not retroactively. Why? Says a big yesod Rava. Zomemim chidushu. The entire idea of zomemim is a big chidush, an illogical idea, so to speak, given in the Torah. Why there are two against two, right? Reuben and Shimon said that they were in Bet Shemesh and they saw the loan or the theft or the murder, chalila. Yeah, and now other people come and say, no, you're with us in Tveria. So it's 2 against 2. My chozis, why do you prefer? What do you see? Why do you have preference? The tzais lahani. Why do you listen to those tzais lahani? In other words, the whole idea of ed zomemim, they will believe the second set and not the first one is actually a big chiddush. What do you mean? You say we were this in Tveria. Well, I say I was in Bet Shemesh. Why are you more believed than me? You have longer white beard. Well, what's the business? Yeah, hilkach. Therefore, en l'chaboy el mishas chidush ve'elach. Says Rava, when the Torah tells me such a mind-boggling chiddush, I want to minimize the chiddush, and only from the chiddush onwards, only once I know the Torah, so to speak, forces me to behave that way, and the Torah tells me to listen to the second ones, not to the first ones, which is a big chiddush, I will minimize the chiddush and say from here onwards, you should not listen to the Eid anymore. But retroactively, no. Yeah, from here backwards, I don't activate that chiddush. It's enough of a chiddush from now on. Yes. Questions and comments? I want to explain some lomdis over here. What really is the difference between Abayey and Rava? This is one of the places in the Shas where it's really the same idea that keeps repeating itself. It's a very nice, deep lomdis idea, which I want to share with you. I'll now turn the tables before we continue the Gemara, and I'll ask you about Abayey. Why does Abayey say that I do follow the Eidim zomemim retroactively, and I say all the eidus they gave since Nisan till now are disqualified? Isn't Rava right? Isn't Rava right that the Torah gave me a mind-boggling chiddush? It's enough to activate the chiddush from now on. I also have to activate it regarding the past. So I don't remember who says it, but I've seen it in a few places. The idea is like this. I think already the Rishonim says. The idea is like this. We have an ongoing machlokes all over Shas. It's between the Rambam and the Rava regarding Gidanoshe, all kinds of places like that. Whenever the Torah tells me something that seems to be against human logic, and we follow the Torah, for example, not to eat Gidanoshe. Gidanoshe, the sinew, yeah, in the high thigh, so that is not really edible. So when the Torah told me not to eat Gidanoshe, what does the Torah tell me? Does the Torah tell me, listen, I know that the thigh is inedible, you still have not to eat it. Don't cut it slim, don't cut it and put it in your mouth. Even though it's not called eating. So really the Torah recognizes Gidim are not edible. Or do we say no? Now the Torah says, you know what? I view Gidim as edible. Same thing about the Eid zomemim. There's enough kamina there about other Gidim. Same thing about Eid zomemim. Rava says, the Torah tells me, I know it doesn't make sense. I know that really the Eid zomemim is not necessarily at fault. But you have chiddush. Chiddush, I minimize the chiddush only from now on. The Sheikh and Abayey said, no. Once the Torah said that the Eid zomemim is at fault, so we go along with it all the way. The Torah says you should run along with this illogical thing and take it all the way. The Torah didn't tell me, even though he is really not at fault, you kill him. We punish him. We view it as if it is his fault. Yeah, we extend it, we turn it into our logic. And by the way, Abayey is right over here. Halacha is like Abayey. Abayey says, yes, if the Torah told you the dead zomemim is at fault, then he's really, really at fault. He's really, yes, a liar. We don't say, I don't know, but let's act that way. Abayey says, let's think that way. Let's really see that this person is an Eid zomemim all the way through. And therefore, his history starts already from the first time he was caught to be a liar. Ikadamri, however, there's another opinion within Rava. Ikadamri, some say, and this is at the end of the second line, wide line. Ikadamri, Rava namik Abayey svirole. Some say Rava also believes Abayey. Conceptually, Rava would have liked to say, really, I'd like to say like you, Abayey, that once the Eid zomemim is disqualified, we activate that disqualifying from the beginning, from the time it was caught red-handed. However, so why don't I say like Abayey? Over here, Rava's reason is mishum pseida de lekuchois. We are having rachmanis on the lekuchois, pseida de lekuchois, which means a lot of people, let's say those Eidim were active on signing on all kinds of deeds and all kinds of shtoris, of documents, yeah, including sales, document of sale of an apartment, a house. So now, if you really disqualify the Eidim, all these lakuchas are going to lose money. Yeah. In other words, in Malasot, we don't know 100% that Eidim zomemim are wrong. So I'd like really to disqualify them, but en chinami, because there are people who are losing out of it, all those people who bought houses between Nisan and Iyar, or between Nisan and Sivan, between whenever, those people are going to lose. I don't make them lose. It's like a gzera, like a takona, out of the actual logic. We make a special dispensation for them. My beinayu. What's the difference between the two lashonos of Rava? Which means within Rava we said two reasons why we don't activate the psul of the Eidim zomemim from the time they were caught, lying. Yeah, but only from now on. Either because we really don't believe they lied. From now on, we're forced by the Torah to act that way, but we don't really know they lied. Or the other pshat is, according to Rava, that we make it takana. My benayu. We make takana. We're trying to be nice to the lekuchos. What would be a practical difference between those two approaches? Two differences. And number one, let's say it was 2 against 1 and 2 against 1, which means now we're finding a case in which it is logical, and makes sense. Even Lahavdil, Tim McKenzie would know that Eidim zomemim are really, really possible. Let's say Reuven and Shimon are good friends. They testified that in Nisan, in Bet Shemesh, the person lent money to his friend or stole or whatever. And then Levi and Yehuda came and told Reuven, you alone, we saw you in Tveria. Then came Beryl and Shmerel, and they told Shimon, you were with us in Haifa that day. So there are 2 against 1 zomemim, and another 2 against 1. That's logical already. 2 against 2 is illogical. Why do you believe 2 more than the other 2? It's 2 against 2. Therefore, says Rava, what can I do? I'm forced by the Torah. I'm not going to extend the chiddush of the Torah. But if you say that it's 2 against 1, that's the case. If the case is 2 against 1 and another 2 against 1, if so, why? Why do you say 2 against 1 is illogical? Very logical. Makes a lot of sense. And of course, if that is being illogical, that is logic. It is logical. And therefore, in that case, of course, we should disqualify them right from the beginning. Yeah? Elamai, if you go because of the Peseda de Lekuchos, the poor customers were trapped in something they had no idea about, then we should kosherize the eidus. That's enough kamina. Yeah? If it's not logical, illogical, that is logical. 2 are stronger than 1. But if it's because of the lekuchos, we would, yes, qualify the eidus and saying, okay, what can you do? We believe them because we want the show. The show must go on. Poor people who bought and had their Eidim signing, not their fault. Their mechira should be valid. That's one. Inami. Or another another idea, another difference between the 2 answers of Rava. The paslinu begazlanusa. Let's say those 2 Eidim were not zomemim. Those 2, the bad boys, the bad Eidim, you know why we disqualify them? Because they are gazlanim. 2 people came to Beis Din and said, we're sorry. We know that Reuven is a gazlan, is a thief. And Shimon is a gazlan, is a thief. Or is a gambler, or plays, I don't know, all kinds of funny games with money, funny money. So it's a disqualified aid. It's not Imanu Hayisem, you were with us. Yeah? So explains Rashi, here we do believe the second set of Eidim. Why? When it's about the Eidim saying, I was in Bet Shemesh, and they say, you were in Tveria, who says the second ones are more believed? But if you say, I'm an honest guy, and the other person says, you're not an honest guy, of course we believe the second one. Every person would say about himself he's honest. The biggest crook also says he's honest, yeah? It's a different Inyan. I'm saying I was in Bet Shemesh, and he says that I'm a crook. So of course we believe the one who says he's a crook. That's, of course, we have to test them very well. We have to grill them. We have to investigate. On the Maisa, if they testify that an aid is a gazlan, you're believed. And therefore, explains the Gemara, If you say the reason why, according to Rava, we don't work retroactively is because the Torah made a special chiddush. Here, it's not a special chiddush, either because it's 2 against 1, or because it's 2 saying you're Gazlan. We too saw you stealing from the supermarket. We too saw you entering the casino in and out and making funny money there. We were on the outside. We were kosher. We were shgiach kashrus. Yeah. But according to the opinion in Rava that says that it's not about being logical or illogical, it's just because we want the best for the poor, innocent people. They just want to buy a house, and unfortunately, they use those Eidim as what? As Eidim. They had no idea that these Eidim are bad. The whole thing blew up later. They didn't know about it. We don't want the lekuchas to lose their money. Then Ika. Then in a chinami, we should activate it retrospectively and say, yes, all the eidus, I mean, not about eidus of murder. I'm saying eidus to do with money, eidus to do with sales, with transactions which are generally kosher, then we say the eidim are believed. It's very, very kind of you. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. I'll be slow so you don't miss much. Omar Birmi Midifti. Any questions for now? Questions, comments?
Yes, Rabbi. I have a question.
Before we continue, I'll just reply to your question, and I hope that will make it clear. If 2 Eidim came to Beis Din and said, we saw so and so, such and such happening in Bet Shemesh last Tuesday, okay? So they're saying 2 things. We saw him stealing in Bet Shemesh, and we were there, because otherwise how can they see it? They don't have Zoom. Zoom doesn't work, I think, for eidus. Now, later on came 2 other Eidim, and they said, on that same Tuesday, you two were with us in Haifa. Always in Cheder, we were told Haifa. Okay? So now, I would say, why do you believe the second ones are not the first ones? You say I was in Haifa, I say I was in Bet Shemesh. Yeah? And it's not about being loyal or not. I'm just telling you a fact. Says the Torah Kedosha, no. Even though it's only 2 against 2, still we believe the second ones. Why? That's what the Torah says. I don't know why. That's how Rava learns it. And therefore Rava says, I'll minimize the chiddush. What I think you're saying, Ellen, is what happens if you have a real logical case. Let's say 2 Eidim saw Reuven alone in Haifa. 2 Eidim say, Reuven, we saw you. It's really 4 against 2. 2 people saw Reuven in Haifa, and 2 other people saw Shimon in Haifa or in Hampstead Heath Garden. No matter where. Then it's logical. 2 against 1 is numbers. Numbers win. Especially 2 Eidim are, that's the money, that's the business. So then, of course, such Eidim zomemim are ultra super Eidim zomemim or mizimim, and then it's logical to say that the first ones are not believed. Is that clearer now? Okay, let's continue. All right. Continues the Gemara. I'm not thirsty, so I'm not making a bracha, just need something else. Abayey Midifti says, what's the halacha? Oved Rav Pope uvda kavose de Rove. Rav Pope followed uvda. He acted upon kavose like Rove. Rav Pope basically ruled like Rove. The Eidim zomemim only disqualified from now on, from the point where they were disqualified onwards. Rav Ashi says Halacha is like Abayey. Halacha is like Abayey, which is what? That the Eidim zomemim are disqualified not from the moment when the new Eidim came, the mizimim, but from the moment where they were disqualified from the first lie that they were caught doing, even though the lie was only exposed a month or 2 or a year later. All the eidus from the time that they were found out to be lying all the way through, all these eidus are false and muzam. Hilchasa, bam, bam, bam. Halacha, it's one of the 6 rare places in Shas. Halacha Abayey. Halacha is the Abayey, the Ya'al Kagam. Ya'al Kagam are the acronym, are the initials of 6 places in Shas where halacha is like Abayey against Rove. Yius, Shalom Midas. I'm not going to explain them all We don't have time. Yushal Midas is the second work of Metzia. Zomemim, that's us. Ayin. Zomemim lemafrea ulabo lechi yomed meilov. In Eruvin, if you have a side pole at the beginning of the street and it's just there naturally, like a tree or something like that. Kagam kiddushin shalonim sulavia. A man was mekadesh a woman. It's like one of two sisters. He doesn't know who is mekadesh, so he can't have relations. Is that called kiddushin or not? Gimel gilu das the get. A person sent somebody to give a get, and then he showed that he's unhappy with that shlichus. He forgives her. He wants to not the get. He doesn't want to go along with. And mem is mumar let to ovoin. A person who eats ham and not ham nevelas because it's cheaper and nicer for him, but he's not anti-religious. Is he good for eidus or not? In all these 6 cases, halacha is like Abayey. None. Oh, so far, let's just summarize without even getting to the halacha. Abayey and Rava, yeah, both of them argue. Abayey says that once the story blew up in the media, or not in the media, and based in, and we know the Eidim zomemim are wrong, then retroactively, from the time that we realized they were wrong, already from then, all the eidus is possible. Rava says no. We only disqualify the eidus from the time the story blew up onwards. But the previous eidus are not. And of course, for parents, the one eidus that they were disqualified, of course they're disqualified. The question is between then and now. Okay? There was one eidus which in ER, there's one eidus of Nisan that were disqualifying. All the 10 eidus between Pesach and Pesach Sheni, let's say, all those eidus are the question. Okay? That's a question. Good. Tanan. Now we're going to apply Abayey and Rava into our Mishnah. What does our Mishnah say? We're going to quote it. Tanan. Gonavel Pishnayim. A person stole based on the eidus of 2 people. 2 people said that so and so in Bet Shemesh stole. What did he steal? Either a bull or a sheep. That's the business here. They came later on to Beis Din and they said, you know, Beis Din, we forgot a detail. We came to you on Sunday, now it's Wednesday, or Tuesday or Monday, it doesn't make a difference. They came later and we said, not only stole, we're sorry to tell you, Beis Din, you also slaughtered or sold it on. So now you should pay not just 2, you should pay extra 3 or 2. But into zomemim came out that there's zomemim. Came out that later on, in the 3rd week, came now other Eidim, and they said, no, what are you talking about? You guys say you're in Bet Shemesh, you saw him stealing on Sunday, you saw him slaughtering on Wednesday, Mapitom. You were with us the whole week in Kinar. Mishalmin is a call. So now the Eidim zomemim, naughty children. You have to pay for everything. You have to pay for the kefel of the original eidus of the gneva. Because gneva is kefel. You wanted to make him pay kefel, you will pay kefel. And also, it's not enough. You have to pay another 3. Why another 3? Because you guys, what are you doing? You also lied regarding the second eidus that he slaughtered, that he shechted. Pay another 3. Now, wait a second. Back to Gemara, that seems to be very simple. It's not simple at all. Let me just introduce you to the idea which you all know, I don't have to tell you, that if they testified only that a person shechted a cow on Wednesday, that's nothing bad. We saw a person shechting a cow on Wednesday. You guys are from the RCCPA, what's the problem? The only validity of what? Of the Wednesday eidus was shechting is what? Because he stole. In other words, that's the first floor, he's stealing. On that you build the second floor, to build the second floor of the shechting. Shechting alone without stealing is nothing. That gives us that. I'll give you another introduction. If Eidim zomemim, of course, it's even simple. If Eidim zomemim come and they say, you shechted, okay, we believe you shechted, thank you. And then other Eidim came in and said, they're zomemim. They were with us in Tveria. They're not here in Bet Shemesh. So what? Originally, their eidus was an invalid eidus. If the eidus didn't make a difference, only an eidus makes a difference, and then was disqualified muzam, then it's an issue. Now that we say that, there's really a very big red herring over here. Frag the Gemara, and soon I'll show you the chart. My love must be Shiur Gneva. We assume that the original Eidim that came in the second week, they say, we saw him stealing on Sunday. Then they came on Wednesday, and they said, we also saw him, we forgot to tell you, we also saw him tvicha. We saw him also slaughtering. Okay, end the first chapter. The third week, then there were other set of Eidim, Levi and Yehuda, and they said, no, first of all, they said, these people say they were there on Sunday when they saw the Gneva, they were with us in Tveria. And then they saw again on Wednesday, Mapitom. They were with us on Wednesday when they claimed there was Tvicha. They were with us in Tveria when they said that they were Toveach. Wait a second. Reg the Gemara, something here doesn't make sense. If you say like Abayey, that eidus is possible already from the start, from the very first time, we know that they were disqualified. So really, Hani, Kevanit Zamelu Agneva, once their Sunday eidus is already disqualified, the Gneva, Iglaim Yisrael Mafreya, retrospectively, I know now, the Chiasadu Atvicha Psulin Havu. So on Wednesday, now I know that since on Wednesday they were already been disqualified, because the Abayey says all the eidus from Sunday till forever are all possible. So the Wednesday eidus, when they said we saw him slaughtering, is an invalid eidus. It's an eidus with no legs to stand on. It's a second floor without a first floor. I have if so. So why do they have to pay for the slaughtering? Why do they have to pay? Meaning paid as punishment that because why? They gave false testimony in the tvicha. That testimony in the slaughtering is invalid. It's nothing, because we already found out that the first eidus on Sunday, the first one of the Gneva, is 0. If later on we say, and you know what? Also the other eidus, the Wednesday on the tvicha is also bad. So what? That eidus is already irrelevant. A few days ago, I found out that the Wednesday one, meaning all eidus between the first time and now, are all disqualified according to Abayey. So why do they have to be punished for the second eidus, which is an invalid one? Because it's a classical case of an eidus that happens in between the two eidus. Yeah? Chart. Because I like you so much. I'll show you the chart. You have it. Okay. Look at the chart. The chart, first picture, the first diagram. The first testimony on Sunday, we saw him stealing in the Shemesh. On Wednesday, they came, we saw him selling. Shechting last Wednesday. Then the hazama came in the third week, and they said, you guys were with us Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, when you claim you saw the business, yeah, what? We were in Haifa. And then later on Wednesday, the question is, what's the business? What's the story? Why are you punishing them for this eidus, which I'm now marking? We saw him selling on Wednesday. It's an invalid eidus, because once on Sunday of week 3, Sunday week 3, I already know that all eidus from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are all disqualified because we follow Abayey. So who cares about the Wednesday eidus? Why do you punish them for the Wednesday eidus? It's already an eidus that has no feet, legs to stand on, according to Abayey. That's a question. Beautiful. Answers the Gemara. That's case number 2. Answers the Gemara. Back to the Gemara. Baruch Hashem. Amri, the yeshiva people said, you know what happened? The first eidus that came against them to disqualify them was about the tvicha. When we heard the eidus regarding Wednesday, yeah, uzma letvicha, we first knew that they lied about the shechting, and we still thought that they were ganavim. At that point, we thought that are correct about the Gneva. we only thought that they're lying about the shechita. But then eidus was valid. It was valid because we thought at that point in the third week that they are lying about the tvicha, and we were right. They lied about the tvicha, but we did not know about the gneva before. So now that tvicha was a valid tvicha. It was a valid tvicha, and then mimela, you have to punish them for that. Let's look at the chart. Case number 2. We switched the order. Look at week 3, Sunday. You witnesses were with us 2 Wednesdays ago in Haifa. So the first thing that they're made about is about the Wednesday eidus. The Sunday eidus is still good. It's still good, right? Only later they testified that on Sunday they were in Haifa. But first they disqualified the shechita. So Mimela, at that point we thought that he's a ganev, and the shechita was a good shechita, it was really a thief. Then we found out hazama. So we have the second floor falling, but the first floor is there. So the second floor, the second eidus, was disqualified independently of the first one. So for that they have to pay. Because now it's not like everything fell off right from the foundation. No, the foundation was there. We didn't know that on Sunday anything bad happened. We believed them regarding Sunday. And now, and on Wednesday, Wednesday was a lie. So now they have to pay 3 or 2, the extra 4 or 5, not the original. Still, Amri, that's not a good answer. Soif, all you did was you switch the order. But when you go after Wednesday of the second week, when later on the Wednesday of the second week, of the third week, Wednesday, third week, we know that they're muzam on Gneva, yeah? Then what happens? At the end of the day, when we calculate everything together, we know at the end of the day, igloi milsa, retrospectively we find out, at the end of the day, we know, after we found out, even though we're working backwards, like a rewind back to front movie, at the end of the day, we have all the information. So we know that when they testified on Wednesday, really it was a shtus. The Wednesday testifying testimony was really garnished. Why do they have to pay for the tvicha? That's a question, right? And therefore, we're still stuck with Abayey. According to Abayey, if you say everything in retrospect, when we found out all the details, even though we worked from Z to A or Z to A, at the end of the day, we know everything. So we know that there were just Shtunken liars, right, regarding the Gneva, right? So we already know at the end of the day, I'm now focusing on Wednesday of the third week. You were with us 2 Sundays ago in Haifa. If so, the Wednesday eidus, which did happen after Sunday, last time I checked Wednesday is after Sunday, then what? Then was a shtus, was a nothing. So why do you punish them for that? They really are, the eidus was invalid to begin with. Therefore, we come to the final answer. Now we come to the final answer, and we're going to see it in the chart. That's a third diagram. So good that you printed it. They were made, the original Eidim, the bad boys, those bad boys, they were made toich kedei dibu. I'm now accentuating, I'm highlighting Wednesday, second week. They say everything in one go. We saw him stealing last Sunday, B'Chemesh, and right away they give a second testimony, but it's like a follow-up straight away. We saw him later selling shechting last Wednesday in B'Chemesh. So those 2 eidus are mamish juxtaposed toch kedei dibu, which we'll see later on. The common opinion is toch kedei dibu. When you say something and you right away say the other one, it's as if it's all one unit. It's 2 eidus that are like glued together. That's good. That's good. So now, came on week 3 on Sunday. You were with us 2 Wednesdays ago in Haifa, right? 2 Wednesdays ago. So first of all, they disqualified which eidus? Of the shechita, right? The shechita is wrong. And therefore you have to pay 3. Abayey says, Et zomemim lemafrei unifsal. No, but the eidus regarding the stealing was not a separate eidus, it was the same time. The whole problem is that they're both eidus about the stealing and the shechting. There's a time lapse between them. And then we say, wait a minute, when they spoke about shechita, we already know that they're liars. No, there's no already know. There's no already. It's tochidei dibur. It's one instant. It's almost one go. Therefore, there is no time for them where there was good eidus regarding the gneva, and bad eidus regarding the shechita. Even though the hazama, Rashi stresses, even if the hazamas of week 3 came apart in 2 days apart, doesn't make a difference. Lamaisa, the eidus is one big business. And therefore, according to Abayey, we don't say, oh, they're disqualified here and not there. It's one big business. They were disqualified regarding the shechita Wednesday. They have to pay for that. Pay for that. And later on, we found out that the Sunday gneva is also wrong. Pay for that too. Why don't you say that really there was in between time that we already knew that their stealing is wrong, and only then we know? No. To our information, it all came on Wednesday. There's no in-between time regarding our knowledge of the original Eidim when we look in retrospect. Therefore, even according to Abayey, it's very good. According to Abayey, you pay for the 3 of Wednesday, and then you pay for the 2, the actual stealing itself of Sunday. It's all together. That's what we want to answer. Now, we will elaborate on it more. We'll elaborate it more, but this is the basics. Lema ketanoi. Now, we want to say that maybe machlokes Abayey and Rava, so far we defended Abayey very nicely. Rava was sitting in the side. Rava is very happy. Why? Because Rava says, I anyhow believe that things don't work in retrospect, right? I believe in future, not in the past. Rava says only things will happen from now on. But regarding the past, well, good. Only Abayey is kivyachol in trouble because Abayey has to work in retrospect. And Abayey's big problem was, once we already know that on Sunday they're already liars, then the Wednesday eidus is irrelevant. And we answered no. There's no Sunday and Wednesday. They were made together. They were made in the same day, same second almost. And therefore there was no time when we already know they were liars about the gneva, but we were still naive regarding the tvicha. No such thing. Let us say machlokes Abayey and Rava is really a machlokes between Tanoim. That's not good. We don't want Abayey and Rava to repeat machlokes Tanoim. Thank you very much for the water, by the way. Let's see. Bevas achas. Line is, I think, more or less in the middle of the page. More or less. You get it? You have it? Bevas achas. Daf ayin gimel. Yeah, we're Daf ayin gimel. Yeah, Daf and Gimel, and the line starts with the word Bevas Achas Vehuzmu, more or less in the middle of the page. Let us say machlokes Abayey and Rava is really machlokes Tanoim. Let's see the following case. 2 people testified that someone stole on Sunday. Then and the same people are made later that he later on slaughtered. So at the beginning, they want him to pay 2. Now they want him to pay an extra 3. It's a bull. People came and said on Sunday, you said that 2 Sundays ago you saw him stealing. 2 Sundays ago you're with us in Holon. Okay. So eidus shebotlo mikzoso botlo hula. Since part of the eidus is disqualified, the whole eidus is disqualified, which means what? Which means that they don't have to pay for the tvicha mechira. Of course, once we know that the gneva didn't take place, that the whole tvicha mechira, nothing happened. So they don't have to pay for the 3 and 2, of course, because they're only disqualified on the gneva. And once the first floor of the building was bombed, boom, plane crash, all the rest falls apart automatically. Nobody has to talk about it. It's automatic. Nobody has to pay for it. Nobody has to be punished for it because the eidus was invalid to begin with. The second one. However, let's say they were only muzam, only disqualified regarding the tvicha, the second eidus, which they said that he slaughtered. Only that they were disqualified, but everybody thinks that he's the gunner. They only were disqualified regarding the tvicha, the second chapter. He has to pay double because he's a ganef, as far as we know. He did not come clean regarding the gneva. They were only found out to be liars regarding the shechita, the second stage. But the first stage seems that they're right. They're not in Tveria. And that happened even before that, even Abayey agrees to that. Because that happened before Bereshis. That's before they were disqualified at first, before they went off the there. Then Mishalmin Tashlum Shloisha. And they have to pay the Eidim, they have to pay the extra 3, because they did lie regarding the shechita, which is an extra 3. That's the Nakama. That's actually very simple. The Nakama is very nice, very good. They pay for the third, that for the second eidus, in which when they want to add 3 more for the tvicha, that were disqualified, that they have to pay for. Says Abayey. I'm coming to partially argue on the Nakama and limit and qualify what the Nakama said. He says, when is it true that they have to pay for the second eidus, for the eidus of the shechita, that's an extra 3? When it comes to 2 eidus, if there are 2 separate eidus, then they have to pay for the second eidus of the shechita. But if everything was 1 eidus, if both gneva and shechita were all mentioned in 1 eidus, then everything falls apart. Eidus botlo miktoso, botlo kula. If part of the eidus is invalid, even the second part regarding the shechita is invalid. But if the shechita and the gneva were all in one go, in one time, in one torch dibu, then even though they were only disqualified regarding the second one, also the first part of the gneva is not believed. It's one mush, it's one business. I will now go to the chart. Remember, we're starting in Mai. The line starts with the word Mai, and I'm going back to the chart. In the third case, according to Abayey, when they said on the week 2, Wednesday, we saw him stealing last Sunday in the Chemish, and we saw him selling. They're doing everything in one go. Says Abayey, if they were disqualified regarding the second part of the shechita on Wednesday, they're also not believed regarding the first one, regarding the gneva. Why? Nobody said that they were in Kenar on Sunday, only on Wednesday. Says Abayey, yes, but the Wednesday eidus, because it's tochidei dibu, it's one glued with the other, it's all one big mesh. And therefore, we don't believe the whole thing. But Chachamim say no. Chachamim say it's true that both eidus were together, but Lamaisa, the 2 eidus were not the same. They gave eidus one, boom, then the other one, even though they were close together. So, yes, still Chachamim say, we'll see why. This is only the beginning. Same hearing, same thing, but Lamaisa, there are 2 units that are adjacent. Chachamim say no. They are not believed regarding Wednesday because they're Muzam, but regarding Sunday, they are believed. Of course, until next Wednesday. That's a different story. They are believed regarding Sunday. Oh, let's see what the Gemara has to say about that. Says the Gemara, Mai. What does it mean when Rabbi Yossi said, Mai b'shtei eduyos, Mai beidus achas? What did Rabbi Yossi mean when he said 2 eduyos? And what did he mean when he said 1 eidus? I spoon-fed you a little bit. I gave you the maskana, but the Gemara has a question regarding this. The Gemara has a way to get there. Sorry. If you think 2 eidus means 2 complete eidus, separate eidus, 2 separate groups of eidim, 2 separate eidus altogether, one regarding Sunday, one regarding Wednesday, 2 separate things altogether. One about gneva, which took Sunday, one about shechita on Wednesday, and the Gemara doesn't know what I told you, that they were made all in one go. No, 2 separate things. And beidus achas bevas achas b'zeachar. 1 eidus means all in one go, one after the other. Yeah, b'zeachar. Yeah. Yeah. If you say bevas achas b'zeachar, there are 2 eidus one after the other, not two groups of Eidim, but one group that testified on Sunday and then on Wednesday, Sunday, then Monday. And on that, Rabbi Yossi says, the eidus achas, bivas achat, bekat achat, kat achat. Eidut achas is one group of Eidim that was made two different times. Zecher zeh, kimasadia gneva, badam sadia tvicha. Zecher zeh means they were first testifying on the gneva, one group, and then the same group on Monday, on Wednesday, they're testified on tvicha. Okay? That's the original case number 1 and 2. They're made on Sunday, gneva, on Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, on the other business. If so, if they're disqualified by the tvicha on Wednesday, what? What? You're telling me that because the Wednesday eidus was disqualified regarding the shechita, so the other eidus of Sunday regarding stealing also falls apart? Since when, if the second floor falls, and it's a big, strong, sturdy building in New York, and the 4th floor fell, so the 1st floor falls? Mapitom. There's pieces falling, but the 1st floor shouldn't fall, not necessarily. Same thing over here. Why are you telling me if it's two separate eidus, mapitom? Rabbi Yossi would say if the second one was disqualified of the shechita, then automatically the first one before that was disqualified? No way. Elalav must be what I told you. I was nice to you and I already told you what the Gemara is saying now. Elalav b'shtei eidus, beidus achas ke'ein shtei eidus. Shtei eidus means one eidus which is similar to two eidus. What does that mean? Two that are like one. Kas achas b'zechaz. Like I told you, it's one eidus, one after the other. Yeah. If you have one group, if it's Sunday and Monday, Sunday eidus, Monday eidus, every eidus is separate. And if the Monday, I call it Wednesday, okay? If the Wednesday eidus was disqualified, the Sunday stays alive, survives. It's true, they're lying about the shechita, but the Gneva is right. Finally, we got there. Eidus achas bevas achas loy. Says Rabbi Yossi, in the case of the chart, if you have one eidus, we saw him stealing last Sunday, and right away the finished one eidus, we go to the other, and we saw him shechting on Wednesday, and both eidus were giving the same instant, the same hearing. Here, Rabbi Yossi looks at it as one mesh, one big cholent, and since the second eidus was disqualified, the first one is disqualified as well. That's Rabbi Yossi. And Chachamim say no. Chachamim say no. Each one is looked at separately. It's a separate business. What are they arguing about? Why does Rabbi Yossi see it as one body and Chachamim say each one is separate? So they're lying about the shechita, but they're truthful about the stealing. You know why? It's Savua. We think like this. We're trying to explain the source of machlokes like this. Everybody Everybody believes the concept which I told you. If two sentences are mentioned within less time, the time lapse in which it takes to say Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Yomi, or Shalom Aleichem Rabbi, literally 2 seconds. If two statements were said in such juxtaposition one to the other, it's like one long sentence. Everyone agrees to that. So what's the argument between Rabbi Yossi and Chachamim? Why does he see it all as one thing and they say it as two things? Everyone should agree that it's one item, one eidus. The Hokamiflagi must be the argue. They're arguing about machlokes by Rava. The Abonon Savri, Bekanu Labon Ifsal. Abonon say, like Rava, when an zomemim was disqualified in his second eidus, even though the two eidus are like Siamese twins, but Lamaisa, he was only disqualified regarding the second eidus. From that instance, last Wednesday, 4:29 and 13 seconds, from that moment, boom, his death march starts. Nifsal. The kamitzami itzum, since they were disqualified regarding tvicha, from that the muzam agneva the lo mitzri lo itzum, but gneva, even though gneva took place, the eidus of gneva took place a second or 2 seconds before. Lochpat. This is Rava. And Rava says what? No, I never work before Bereshit Bara Elokim. I never work before the time that they were Muzam. They were Muzam on what? On the last minute, not the one before. Mimela, that's it. They're Muzam from then onwards. We don't go into their past. We don't dig dirt into the past. Abayey says, no, Mapiton. The Anifs already from the very first eidus. They came and the miyad kiasidu the mifsali. Since at the time of eidus, they are disqualified. Which means no. Yeah. Say like this. If we say, says Abayey, I believe in Abayey. I believe in Abayey. And I believe that you work retroactively. And if you work retroactively and both diburim are one, so that dibur right from the first second, not 13 seconds, but 11 seconds, we look a little bit more into the past and say, hey, it's all one dibur. So that one dibur is all treif. And we do look at the beginning of the dibur, not just the end. So the Torah, Rabbi Yossi and Chachamim argue the same machlokes of Abayey and Rava. That's not good. Says the Gemara, no. Gemara rejects it, which is good to reject it. Says the Gemara, no. Amri, third line from the bottom of the page. If you want to tell me the Toch K'dei Dibur, two statements that are joined in the hip together, mentioned very close to each other, is all like one statement, then Rava should also agree that the whole statement is treif. Because even though Rava believes that we don't disqualify all the eidus between last Wednesday and Sunday, that's true. But that, like parrots, I told you, that same treif eidus, of course Rava agrees is treif. That's the whole Chiddush Torah. That's all Eidim zomemim. If we say you were with us on that Wednesday, then of course you treif. And if that Wednesday eidus is one goof, it's one mesh, one mixture, one all melting pot, then it's all one. Even according to Rava, it should be treif and possible. And the eidus gneva should also be disqualified. Elahocha must be. You know why Chachamim and Rabbi Yossi argue? Wow. They're arguing the actual concept. Do we or don't we say the Toch K'dei Dibur is like Dibur? Do we say that actually the same two Diburim joined together are looked at like one or like two? Abonat Savi Toch K'dei Dibur, Lav K'dibur Dami. Chachamim say no, even though we have two eidus, they're joined together, they can be joined like that, lochpakli. There are two statements. Two statements are not one. And if you were disqualified regarding the second statement, we don't say oil rosh oil shcheinoi. We don't say it here. The second statement is treif. The first one, nothing bad regarding that. It's like everyone agrees that before the first bad, the one known bad eidus, nobody disqualifies them that early. Yeah. For example, if in Iyar, I know that in Nissan they spoke bad, nobody would say that Odo they're bad. Nobody says that. Both Abayey and Rava agree that much we don't go. We assume that they were kosher before that. The argument is between Nissan and Iyar. So that's good. Abayey says no. Toch K'dei Dibur is one statement. And since that one statement is half treif, the whole thing is treif. Let's say you mix a little bit chas v'sholem of chazir brine, chazir juice into your cholent, less than 60, the whole thing is treif. It's one body. Therefore, says Rabbi Yossi, if they were disqualified regarding the tvicha, surely are disqualified also regarding the gneva. It's all one thing. If you want to do chazara, please log on to yoshir.com or the YouTube channel. And you can chazer. I have to make a very important phone call because my daughter came back from Chutz La'aretz right now. Thank you very much. Hatzlacha Rabba. Have a good day. Questions are welcome now.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very, very much.